At 10:03, one lamp was still on in the bedroom. The rest of the house had almost finished putting itself away. A door had clicked some minutes earlier. The hallway had stopped carrying footsteps. Somewhere beyond the wall, the refrigerator kept its small, steady hum, and the air in the room seemed to move more slowly now, as if even the house knew not to ask for anything else. She sat on the edge of the bed beside the low lamp, holding the lunch container in both hands. It was empty now, rinsed but not quite dry. Earlier, it had sat on the kitchen counter between her and her mother, while a few tired words passed back and forth. Nothing terrible. Nothing that would be remembered clearly tomorrow. Only the kind of small argument that happens when love has been working all day without much rest. Now her mother was asleep. The container rested against her palm, light and ordinary, almost too plain to carry so much care. She listened to the room breathe after the light changed, and the evening gave back a little space. Not forgiveness exactly. Just quiet mercy. A pause that did not ask her to explain herself. The lunch container had a thin line of water along one corner, caught where the lid used to snap into place. She noticed it because there was nothing left to do with her hands. All day, her hands had known where to go. They had opened pill bottles, adjusted the thermostat, rinsed a spoon, checked the time, picked up the same sweater from the same chair, answered a question from the hallway, and carried a plate from one room to another before the food had cooled too much. Care had a way of keeping the body moving. Even when the heart was tired, the hands kept learning the shape of the house. In the kitchen earlier, the container had been part of the ordinary noise. It had sat near the sink with its lid beside it, close to a dish towel and a bottle of dish soap. Her mother had said something from the table. She had answered too quickly. Then her mother had answered in the voice she used when she was trying not to sound hurt. It had not become a storm. It had only become that small, familiar weather that passes through rooms where people love each other and have also become tired of needing so much from the same day. There was a spoon in the sink. A cabinet not quite closed. The porch light still on because no one had remembered to turn it off yet. Somewhere in the house, the nightlight near the bathroom kept its small yellow square on the floor. Nothing was ruined. Still, the words had stayed in her. They had followed her through the last hour of the evening, even while she moved like someone who knew the routine by heart. She wiped the counter. She checked that the back door was locked. She made sure her mother's water glass was close enough to reach. She folded the thin blanket back over the chair, though no one had asked her to. These were not grand acts. They were only the things that kept a house from feeling abandoned by the people inside it. By the time she came into the bedroom, the argument had lost its sharpest edge. It had become smaller, less like a wound and more like a tired place in the room. She could still hear her own tone, and then her mother's silence after it. She could still see the lunch container open on the counter, empty except for a few grains of rice and one small piece of carrot caught near the side. There was something almost tender about how plain it was. A container. A lid. A meal that had been packed, carried, opened, finished, rinsed. Proof that somebody had eaten because somebody else had remembered. She held it now near the lamp, and the plastic looked softer in the low light. Not pretty. Not special. Just used. The kind of object that moved through a family quietly, never asking to be noticed, always appearing near care. The bedroom had its own sounds at night. Fabric settling. The faint click of the lamp switch when she had turned it lower. Air moving through the vent. The house shifting inside the dark with small wooden sounds, as if it too was easing its weight from one side to another. She listened. Her mother's room was quiet down the hall. That quiet did something to her. It did not make her feel suddenly better. It did not erase the little argument or make her gentler than she had been at dinner. but it gave her a place to put the day down without having to decide what it meant. At the edge of the bed, she let her shoulders lower. The container rested in her lap. For a moment, she was not planning tomorrow's breakfast. She was not thinking about the appointment reminder on the fridge, or whether the pharmacy would call back, or whether her mother had enough clean socks in the drawer. She was not reaching for the next useful thing. She was only sitting there. The lamp stayed on. The house breathed. And nothing asked her to hurry back into being needed. The small argument had begun before either of them knew it had begun. It started with the lunch container, but not really. It started with the hour. It started with the way evening gathers every unfinished thing and brings it into one room. The bills on the counter. The towel left in the dryer. The appointment card pinned under the refrigerator magnet. The question of whether there was enough soup for tomorrow. The quiet math of caring for someone and still trying to remember your own name inside the day. Her mother had asked if the container was clean. She had said yes. Her mother had asked again, not because she did not trust her, maybe, but because the day had made her careful. And the daughter had heard it the wrong way. She had heard it as correction. She had heard it as one more small doubt landing on a tired place. So her answer came out too sharp. Only a few words. But sometimes a few words are enough to change the temperature of a kitchen. The room had gone quiet around them. The dishwasher had been running, low and steady, but even that sound seemed to step back. Her mother looked down at the table for a moment. Her daughter turned toward the sink and busied herself with water, as if rinsing one container could also rinse the tone out of the air. It could not. Still, she rinsed it. She ran her thumb along the corner where the lid always held a little sauce. She let the water fill the bottom, swirl, and disappear. She watched a small piece of food loosen and circle the drain. The whole time, she wanted to say something easier. Something ordinary enough to open the room again. But the words did not come. That was how some evenings went. Not broken. Not cruel. Just crowded. Crowded with tired bodies. Crowded with reminders. Crowded with love that had been used all day in practical ways and had very little softness left on the surface. Afterward, she had helped her mother to her room. She had asked whether the blanket was warm enough. Her voice had come back to normal by then, or close to normal. Her mother had nodded. There was a small pause beside the bed, the kind where apology almost enters, then hesitates because both people are too worn out to hold it properly. Her mother touched the edge of the blanket. "I'm okay," she said. And that was all. The daughter stood there for another second, not sure whether to believe the words or simply accept them for the night. Then she adjusted the lamp on the dresser, checked the water glass, and left the door open a few inches. Care continued, even when conversation could not. That was the part that made her chest ache a little later. Not in a dramatic way. More like a button sewn too tightly onto fabric. The day held. The house held. The routine held. But something underneath felt pulled. Now, in her own bedroom, she could still see her mother's hand on the blanket. The lunch container sat beside her on the bedspread, its lid resting crookedly against it. She had brought it in without thinking. Maybe because she meant to put it away and forgot. Maybe because her hands needed to carry one last thing before they could become empty. The lamp made a small circle of light. Outside that circle, the room softened into shadow. A sweater hung over the back of a chair. Her phone lay face down near the pillow. From somewhere down the hall came the faint sound of the house settling into itself, pipes cooling, wood shifting, the quiet after voices have stopped trying. She listened for her mother. Nothing. Only sleep. Only the low, living silence of rooms that had done enough. The daughter looked at the container again. Tomorrow it would go back into use. It would hold sliced fruit, or leftovers, or whatever could be made quickly before the next appointment, the next errand, the next small need. It would disappear into routine. But tonight, at the edge of the bed, it stayed visible. It held the shape of care without asking anyone to feel sentimental about it. It held the argument too, but gently now. Not as proof that she had failed. Not as a record of the sharpness in her voice. More like a small household witness to the fact that love sometimes gets tired and still remains in the room. She placed one hand over the lid. The plastic was cool. For one quiet breath, she let that be enough. The house became quieter in layers. First the voices disappeared. Then the small practical sounds went with them, one by one. No cabinet closing. No faucet running. No walker brushing softly against the hallway wall. No television murmuring from the living room because she had turned it off before bringing her mother down the hall. After that, there was only the deeper sound. The sound a house makes when everyone inside it has stopped asking anything from it for a while. It was not silence exactly. It was the refrigerator beginning again, then resting. It was the vent moving a slow breath through the room. It was the old floor giving one soft knock somewhere in the dark. It was the roof settling after a day of holding sun. It was the tiny shift of pipes behind the wall, as if the house were remembering water. She had never noticed these sounds when she was younger. Back then, a house was just a place to leave, to come back to pass through with a backpack or a set of keys or a late-night snack in hand. The quiet belonged to someone else. The groceries appeared. The sheets were clean. The container went into a bag. A light stayed on in the hallway without her knowing who had left it there. Now she knew. Now she understood the small labor hidden inside a house that seemed calm. Not as a lesson. Only as a sound she could hear at 10:03, sitting on the edge of her bed with the lunch container beside her, while her mother slept down the hall. The low lamp gave the room a small amber shape. It did not reach the corners. It did not try to. The chair stayed half in shadow. The sweater over the back of it looked like someone had just stepped away. On the dresser, a few coins, a receipt, and a hair tie sat together without order. Nothing in the room looked finished. But nothing was calling out either. That was the mercy. The house was not asking to be repaired tonight. The container was not asking to be filled. The calendar on the refrigerator was not visible from here. The medicine organizer was in its place. The sink had been rinsed well enough. The towels could wait until morning. Well enough. Those two words came to her softly, not as something she had decided, but as something the room seemed to allow. She touched the lunch container again. Its lid made a small plastic sound against the bedspread. The sound was plain and small, but in the quiet it felt almost tender. This was what care had become in her life lately. Not one large feeling, not one clear speech, not a clean apology with all the right words, but a series of objects moved from place to place. A container washed. A glass refilled. A blanket lifted. A hallway light left on. A door kept open just enough. Sometimes, when she was tired, she worried that this kind of care was too rough around the edges. She worried that her mother heard more impatience than love. She worried that the day had made her smaller, less generous, less like the daughter she once imagined she would be when the time came. Then the house breathed again. A low shift in the walls. A hum. A pause. And in that pause, she did not have to answer every worry. Her mother was asleep. The room was warm enough. The last light was still on. The lunch container was clean enough for tomorrow, even with a faint dampness tucked into one corner. The argument had not vanished, but it had stopped standing between every object in the house. It had settled down with the rest of the evening. She leaned forward and set the container on the floor beside the bed. Not put away. Not finished. Just placed there for now, within the circle of lamplight. Her hands rested empty in her lap. For a few breaths, she let them stay that way. After a while, she noticed the lamp more than the container. It was the old kind with a shade that leaned slightly to one side, though no one in the house seemed to care enough to fix it. Its light fell low across the bedspread and stopped before reaching the closet door. The bulb was warm but not bright. It made the room feel less like a place that needed to be cleaned and more like a place that could hold someone for a few minutes. She sat inside that small circle. Down the hall, her mother slept. The daughter could picture the room without seeing it. The water glass on the nightstand. The tissues folded into the corner of their box. The blanket pulled up higher than her mother usually liked it. The lamp in that room turned off, but the bathroom nightlight still making its little path across the floor. There was comfort in knowing those things. There was also weight. Care made a map inside her. She knew which floorboard creaked near the doorway. She knew which mug her mother preferred in the morning. She knew how much soup would be enough, how many steps from the bed to the chair, how long a silence could last before it meant something different. She knew the sound of tiredness in another person's voice. And she knew her own. That was harder to admit. Her own tiredness did not always arrive politely. It came out in the way she closed a cabinet. It came out in the half-second before she answered. It came out in the small argument that had already softened but not disappeared. She looked toward the floor, where the lunch container waited beside the bed. It seemed almost out of place there. A kitchen object in the bedroom. A morning object resting inside the night. Something meant for carrying food now sitting beside a pair of slippers and the soft shadow under the bed frame. But maybe that was how care often lived. It crossed rooms. It followed people farther than they expected. A lunch container did not belong only to lunch. It belonged to the planning before the day began, the grocery list folded in a pocket, the leftover rice saved because it could become part of tomorrow, the hand that checked the lid twice before leaving it in the fridge. It belonged to all the quiet trying that happened before anyone sat down to eat. Her mother had done those things once, long before the daughter was the one listening for sounds in the hall. Her mother had stood in kitchens under early light, closing lids, wiping counters, leaving notes, finding clean socks, remembering who liked what. Back then, those gestures had seemed like part of the weather. Always there. Easy to overlook because they arrived so steadily. Now, in the low bedroom light, the daughter felt the shape of that old steadiness. Not as guilt. Only as recognition. The house had been breathing like this for years, through different people's wakefulness. Her mother had heard it once from another room, maybe after the daughter had gone to sleep as a child, maybe after homework, after dishes, after some small argument neither of them could remember now. A household keeps many nights. Most of them leave no record. There is no photograph of someone standing at the sink after everyone else has gone to bed. No one frames the moment a lunch container is washed, dried, and set out for morning. No one usually remembers the hand that turns a hallway light down instead of off because someone might wake up confused in the dark. Still, those moments remain somewhere. Maybe not clearly. Maybe only in the way a person learns, years later, to leave a light on. She drew her feet a little closer under the edge of the bed. Her shoulders had dropped without her noticing. The room was not silent, but it no longer felt crowded. Even the argument seemed to have changed shape again. It was still there, but it was not the whole evening anymore. It was one tired moment inside a larger care. She let that thought stay small. The lamp hummed faintly. The house breathed again, and for once she did not move to answer it. She did not know how long she had been sitting there. The clock on her phone had gone dark. She had not picked it up again. The room seemed to have moved a little farther from the day, even though nothing had changed except the light, and the way her breathing had begun to follow it. The lunch container stayed on the floor beside the bed. It looked smaller from there. A few minutes ago, it had felt full of the evening, full of the kitchen, full of her sharp answer and her mother's lowered eyes, full of everything that had not been said afterward, when they both moved carefully around the silence. Now it was only an object again. That did not make it empty. It only made it easier to sit beside. The daughter leaned back slightly, letting one hand rest on the bedspread. The fabric was cool where she had not been sitting. The lamp made the wrinkles in the blanket visible, small slopes and shadows, nothing straight, nothing perfectly smoothed. She looked at them with a tired kind of attention. All day, she had been straightening things. Not always with her hands. Sometimes with her face. Sometimes with her voice. Sometimes with the little pause before answering, when she tried to sound calm enough for two people. She had straightened the morning around the appointment. She had straightened lunch around her mother's appetite. She had straightened the afternoon around a phone call that took too long. She had straightened the evening around medication, dishes, and one small disagreement neither of them had meant to keep. At some point, a person gets tired of holding the corners. At some point, the day has to be allowed to lie down crooked. The thought came and went without needing much attention. It did not ask to be written down. It did not make her wiser. It simply passed through the room like the faint movement of air from the vent. She listened again. The house was still breathing, but more quietly now. It had lost the scattered noises of people. It had become the kind of house that waits with its lights lowered and its rooms half open. A house at night can feel almost alive in that way, not because it speaks, but because it keeps holding what people leave inside it. The daughter thought about her mother's room. The door open a few inches. The blanket. The water glass. The sleeping shape under the covers. There had been so many years when she did not imagine her mother sleeping as someone who needed care. As a child, she had assumed her mother simply became available again each morning. Awake before everyone. Standing somewhere near the stove. Folding something. Looking for something. Telling someone where their shoes were. Mothers had seemed endless then. Now the daughter knew better. No one was endless. Not her mother. Not herself. Not the patience inside a long day. Not the soft voice she wished she could always use. Everything had edges. Everything wore down a little with use. And still, some things remained. A hand checking the lid of a container. A lamp left on. A door left slightly open. A daughter sitting in the quiet after speaking too quickly, not knowing how to fix the whole evening, but staying near it anyway. That was something. She let the words stay plain. Something. The argument had already begun to loosen from its first shape. It no longer felt like a single hard mark against her. It felt more like one small room in a larger house. A room she could walk past for tonight without locking herself inside it. Tomorrow, there might be another chance to speak more gently. Or maybe there would only be oatmeal, coffee, a weather report from the television, and the ordinary need to begin again without naming everything. That would be all right too. Not every repair announces itself. Sometimes the repair is a softer voice near the medicine cabinet. Sometimes it is remembering the extra napkin. Sometimes it is setting the lunch container on the counter in the morning without making the moment heavy. She looked at the floor again. The container waited inside the lamplight. Clean enough. Ready enough. Like the house. Like the night. Like her. For one more breath, she did not ask herself to become better than the day had allowed. She only sat there, while the room breathed around her. The last room went quiet a little after that. She heard it happen. Not all at once. More like a final small lowering in the house. The vent paused. The refrigerator stopped its hum. A car passed somewhere outside, then the street returned to itself. The hallway held its faint strip of nightlight, but no shadow crossed it now. The house had finished moving around the people inside it. She remained on the edge of the bed. The lamp was still on. Its light had begun to feel less like something she had chosen and more like something that had stayed with her. A small circle. A patient one. It did not brighten the whole room. It did not reach down the hall. It simply made enough room for the lunch container, the bedspread, her tired hands, and the quiet that had come after everything else. Enough room was sometimes all a person could receive. She bent forward and picked up the container from the floor. The plastic gave a soft sound under her fingers. The lid had settled against one side, not fully attached, not fully loose. She pressed it gently into place. The click was small, but in the bedroom it sounded clearer than it should have. A closed thing. A simple thing. Tomorrow, it would go back to the kitchen. It would be stacked with the other containers or left near the coffee maker where she could see it. Maybe she would fill it before the morning became crowded. Maybe she would forget until the last minute and open the refrigerator with one hand while checking the time with the other. Life would continue in that plain way. The calendar would still be on the fridge. The medicine organizer would still need attention. Her mother would wake and ask what day it was, or what the weather looked like, or whether there was any more of the soup from yesterday. The daughter would answer. Maybe gently. Maybe tiredly. Maybe somewhere in between. The room did not ask her to promise anything. That was the kindness of it. The night did not require her to become a perfect daughter before resting. The lamp did not ask for an apology. The container did not keep score. Even the house, with all its small repairs and unpaid bills and towels waiting in the dryer, seemed to understand that a person can only carry so much before she needs to sit down. She set the lunch container on the nightstand, beside the phone she still had not turned over. Then she listened for her mother again. Nothing had changed, only sleep down the hall. Only another person breathing through her own old dreams, her own tired body, her own long history of kitchens and lamps and containers and mornings that began before anyone thanked her for them. The daughter felt that history near her tonight. Not heavily. More like a hand resting on the back of a chair. Her mother had once been the one staying awake after the last room quieted. Her mother had once been the one hearing the house breathe after everyone slept. Maybe she too had sat somewhere under one lamp, carrying the sting of words said too quickly, the weight of chores left unfinished, the strange comfort of being alone at the end of a day that had belonged to everyone else. The daughter would never know all of it. She did not need to. Some understanding arrives without a full story. It comes through the ordinary things that remain in the hand. A container. A blanket. A light left on because darkness feels too complete. A pause before sleep, when the house gives back a little space and nothing asks to be named. She turned the container once, aligning it with the edge of the nightstand. Then she stopped herself. It did not have to be straight. She let it stay a little crooked. The lamp made a quiet warmth on the plastic. The room breathed around her. Her shoulders lowered again, not because the day had become easy, but because it had finally stopped requiring her to answer. For tonight, there was mercy in that. The kind that did not fix. The kind that simply allowed rest to arrive. Before turning the lamp off, she sat for one more minute. Not because anything needed to be solved. Only because the quiet had become gentle enough to stay with. The lunch container rested crookedly on the nightstand, its clean plastic catching a small piece of light. In the morning, it would be ordinary again. It would wait near the coffee maker, or sit open on the counter while she looked for something simple to pack. Maybe her mother would come into the kitchen slowly, one hand along the wall, and maybe neither of them would mention the evening at all. Maybe there would only be a softer voice. A napkin folded once. The sound of water running. That could be enough for morning. For now, the house had gone fully quiet. Her mother slept down the hall. The hallway held its faint line of light. The bedroom no longer felt like a place where she had come to carry the day, but a place where the day had finally loosened its hand. She reached for the lamp switch. Then she paused. The room seemed to breathe with her one last time, not asking for an apology, not asking for improvement, not asking her to become less tired before she was allowed to rest. So she let herself be tired. She let the container stay where it was. She let the small argument belong to the day that was ending, not to the whole of love. And when the lamp clicked off, the dark did not feel empty. It felt like mercy. Quiet enough to hold them both.